We'll get to that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, this is a fantastic topic that we were going to have on the show Friday. Loyalty in sports. Does it even exist? And there are a million examples. I know, McNuggets, you put some in, Marcus Smart trade, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell for that matter. This was a playoff team dismantled. Now, from the player to the team, everybody's questioning, well, is Mitchell committed to the Cavs? He's talking about wants to go home to his hometown New York Knicks. There's a lot of speculation about that. Tom Brady was, could have ran for mayor of Boston or senator of Massachusetts and won. Now, I'm not sure if they even let him back in the state. He decided he was going to go to Tampa Bay. One example that I'm glad you put this on the list because this one was one that Browns fans can relate to. The Browns released Joe Hayden. Clearly had a lot of football left. They missed on that big time.
Yeah.
And I was upset when I saw it, but it made sense later. And I talked to Joe about this, and I understand his logic. When Joe Hayden was cut by the Browns, where did he go? He went to the Steelers. Could have gone somewhere else, went to the Steelers. So is loyalty in sports, professional sports in particular, and we're starting to see in college sports too, but is loyalty in pro sports dead?
Ooh. I would say it's a case-by-case basis. It's just not cut and dry yes and no. In some cases, I feel like it's the media's fault. We put so much pressures on these guys with this ring culture, and you didn't have a great career if you didn't win a ring. So it puts,
especially in basketball.
Yeah. So
you better go add one to your
so it puts
resume.
pressure on players that I'm not winning a ring here. They won't view me as a top yada yada player. Let me jump to another team that may have a star over there, but then I get a ring and now I'm content. Everything is good. As opposed to guys like Kobe, he was just going to stick it out. But even in Kobe's cases, he was upset at one point. I know you're at ESPN when he wanted to go when they weren't winning. So I would say it's a case-by-case basis because look at Damian Lillard. We're getting on him now at this one, how the narrative has kind of changed. At first, we praised him for staying. He's loyal to Portland. He wants to win.
Right.
And now is Dame a top 75 player because he doesn't have a championship?
Sure.
So it's kind of which one is it?
We did the same to Russell Westbrook with OKC.
I'll give you an example right here. There was, not in Cleveland, but there were some people across the country saying, well, why did Joe Thomas not want to go play with Peyton Manning for a Super Bowl?
True.
Why did he stay in Cleveland?
Yeah.
So you're damned either way, right? You made a great point. Usually when people blame the media, I roll my eyes.
Yeah.
I do think the media plays a role in the NBA, no doubt.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, like right now, James Harden, you're a loser.
Yeah, you don't have that
You're a
piece.
loser. You don't have a championship. And who's going to get crushed right now is Embiid, right? Embiid.
Yeah, sure.
Because Giannis won his MVP and then won a championship. Jokic won 2 MVPs, won his championship. Embiid won an MVP. Now he's got to win a championship. So there is a lot of that pressure there. But I wouldn't say it's dead. I would say it's dying, right? Because I think Jose Ramirez signing with Cleveland, that was loyalty.
That was my example.
He showed great he could have made easily $100 million more, if not more, on the open market.
Yeah.
So he showed some loyalty there. There's no doubt. Why else would he have done it? I mean,
right.
But it's few and the teams show almost no loyalty to players. I feel like as fans, we're more critical of the players.
I agree with that.
Not showing loyalty than we are
agree.
The teams.
We don't hold the teams responsible enough.
No.
But we'll blame the player all day long.
All the time.
Albert Bell can't come back to Cleveland. When they put him in the Hall of Fame, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because he was afraid of the reaction he was going to get because he was the one that decided he was going to leave.
Right.
But in truth, him leaving was precipitated by the team saying, we're not going to pay you.
Right.
But fans forget about that.
Yeah, it's strange that way it works. Where fans were mad at Tomey, right? You brought him back.
Sure.
And but you were mad at Tomey. It's a little different with when LeBron left. That wasn't about money. That was just he wanted to go somewhere else. But ultimately, there's very little loyalty in sports.
Yeah.
It's big business. It's big business for the players. It's big business for the owners. And that's why I say as a fan, you don't owe your like when you're a fan of a team, it's in your DNA, right?
Yeah.
It's in your blood. You can't just stop. If you're mad at the Browns or I'm screaming about the guard, you can't just stop rooting for the team. It's in your DNA. However, you don't owe the team paying money for tickets and all that stuff. And that's the stuff you can pull back on if you feel like the team is not committed to you as a fan or the team to winning.
You went, this is crazy, but you went exactly where I was going.
Oh.
So I had it a step further. You say it's not dead, but it's.
I had one counterpoint to that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I will say it's dying more. It's basically dead in football, and it's dying in basketball.
Right.
It's dying in basketball because the team has more power and get to give the player more money and more incentive to stay. They can offer more guaranteed money,
right,
rather than them hitting the market and going to another team.
And many of them still hit the market.
As opposed to football, the advancement of the game and how good these guys are early. These rookies are so good coming in that teams are hesitant to play vets when they can let them go and just feel like they can draft a player at certain positions and plug and play.
That is an interesting distinction.
So I would say it's dead in football because guys know that they can get replaced with rookies quicker, so they want to get their money, and that if that causes for them to leave.
Yeah.
And the lifespan of a football player is much shorter than it is as a basketball player.
That's true.
That's a great
So
distinction.
I'm going to go get my money, whoever's offering it, because I don't know how much longer I have to play, and it's not guaranteed.
Great point.
As
Just
opposed
by
to
the
basketball.
setup and the nature of the sport,
So.
your career length is
Yep.
far less. So obviously players are trying to get the money while they can when they're in that window. So that's a great point. I was going to say not that it's dying. I think it's on life support. And I think I'm going to generalize here because I think you can make a case for each different sport that it's in a different spot. But in general, there is very little loyalty team to player, and there is very little loyalty player to team. Exceptions, of course. You mentioned Ramirez could have made 90 to 150 million were some of the estimates that he left on the table.
Right.
Why? I like it here. I feel comfortable here. Joe Thomas. I mean, if I'm Cleveland or if I'm a Cleveland GM, Jose Ramirez and Joe Thomas are my text cases for how I try to get players to stay here. You know what I tell both of them? They're both Hall of Fame. I mean, I think Jose Ramirez is on a Hall of Fame track.
Yeah, sure.
Clearly, Joe goes in next month or late this month, late in July. I think what you tell them is Cleveland gets a bad rap nationally, but we had an overall #1 pick come here and tell the best player in football at the time who was recruiting him to come with him to win a Super Bowl, no, I'm going to stay in Cleveland. I owe it to them. They've been great to me.
Right. And it's not like Joe was from here
No,
originally.
he was from Wisconsin. I mean, Midwest sensibilities.
Right, but still.
And then with Jose Ramirez, even far different. You know, he comes from a foreign country. Cleveland, Ohio meant nothing to him growing up. He didn't even know where it was on the map. He likes it so much here that he sacrificed perhaps 9 figures to stay here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I think the selling points are there, but you're still going to see players. Bieber, you know, if he wanted to, Shane Bieber could go to the Guardians right now and say, you know what, I want to stay. Let's do a deal. Give me your best number. What is it? Let's negotiate. He doesn't want that.
Right.
He wants to get the most amount of money that he can. So he's going to leave. So I think the loyalty, but there is still loyalty in sports, and you touched on it. The loyalty in sports is fan to team. And I won't even say fan to player.
No.
Because it's not. We've learned we got to root for this.
Yeah, you took the words
Now,
right out of my mouth.
It used to be we used for this because that never changes. Well, that changed, and it cost them some fans.
Yeah.
But in general, the loyalty in sports is one-sided. It's
right.
from the fan to the team. And that team can pour acid on us. They can kick us in the groin. They can sucker punch us in the face. They can leave us at the altar. They can physically and emotionally abuse us. All of these obviously are characterizations. But at the end of the day, always remember this, that Cleveland fans threw a parade when the Browns went 0-16. That is some kind of sick, blind loyalty. And look, I'm not speaking, I own it too. I think a person with real sensibilities knows that, you know, the baby analogy is you put your hand on the oven, stove a couple times, and that's the last time you do that because you get burned and you don't go back. Our hands are scar tissue.
There's no skin left.
There's nothing left. We're just all burned scar tissue.
Right.
We keep coming back and say, thank you, sir, may I have another?
Not only do we come back, but there's a percentage of our fan base that if we're critical of the team, will get mad at us.
Which is the part of our fan base that I'll never understand, Bull.
It's crazy.
If we speak what we think is our truth,
right?
We're haters. We want the Browns to lose. Fact, no matter how much I want the Browns to win, it hasn't worked yet. It doesn't impact what they do on the field.
Nope.
When we're critical, understand that it's coming from a good place. When we're critical, we're trying to point out things that we see are deficiencies. Why? We hope the team hears the collective voice and makes the appropriate changes. But it's that 25% of our fan base that voted Haslam as the best owner in Cleveland. Bull, that will forever trip me out. I don't think you were here that day. We did a YouTube poll.
Yeah.
And 50% of Cleveland fans said that Gilbert is the best owner. Well, I can understand that. He's spent the most money. He's won a championship.
Right.
Despite the fact that the Indians and Guardians are playoff staples, went to the 7th game of the World Series and lost twice in the last 30 years in extra innings both times, and it consistently is near the top of its division. Dolan got the same amount of votes as Haslam got, who's played in 2 playoff games and won 1, and gave us an 0-16 and 0-15.
Yeah.
They both got 25% of the vote.
And I got a beef with Dolan, but to say that Jimmy Haslam's better owner than Dolan is insane.
And that's the part
insane.
that, so what,
Yeah.
that brings me to my loyalty point.
Yeah.
We've got 25% of the Cleveland sports fans that will argue that the football owner is the best owner in town. That is blind loyalty. And by the way, because that fan base is so strong, we can never hold his feet to the fire. Because you know what he says in
hard.
his
Yeah,
office when he laughs? See you in September.
Right.
You're coming back.
By the way, that 25% is picking the Browns to go 13-4 this year.
1,000%. And probably a fraction of those are picking them to win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
To your point, Jay, about it being one-sided, that's so true. Because look at Marcus Smart situation.
Yeah.
A guy that gave us all and bled green and white. There's been times teams trade guys when they're on the bench. Teams trade guys when they're warming up. Teams send guys home so they can find the best offer available to make the team better. And then they hide it as saying, we're just trying to make the team better and improve our roster. That's how they sell it to the fan base.
Sure.
But when the player leaves and tries to go get the most money,
You're being
then the
selfish.
player is selfish.
Yeah.
Now you're ruining our team. You don't care about the fans. You never loved us.
Yeah.
How could you do this to us fans after we've supported whoever, Joe Smo, for X amount of years? But when the team does it, it's okay because they're trying to make the team better. So that's where the loyalty is one-sided from the fans to the organization, which is not fair. And athletes get that, and they're like, well, we're just going to get our money now. You're not going to – we're damned if we do, damned if we don't anyway.
Yeah, so hate me, but pay
So,
me.
Yeah, hate me, but
Yeah.
pay me because I have my own family and things like that
Yeah.
to take
Right,
care of.
absolutely.
I also
So-
think
so-
in terms of that relationship between, it's a little off topic, but the relationship between the fan and the player has changed over the years. It's much harder to get an autograph from a player.
True.
Especially without paying for it. And I don't, listen, to me, adults asking for autographs is a little weird.
It's silly.
But the players should always sign for the kids.
Yeah.
Always, without exception.
I agree.
And a lot of players won't. You know, at training camp, they kind of have to sometimes. But when I was a kid, Jay, when you were a kid, you'd go to a Cleveland Indians game. All right? Wasn't a lot of people there when you were a kid.
No.
All right? You could walk up to the first row, stand by the field, and players would sign autographs for you before the
I've
game,
got
right?
autograph books filled with names.
I'd go to Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium, Veteran Stadium in Philadelphia. I'd walk up to the front, even if I didn't have good tickets, because I was
Sure.
not usually sitting near the first
And the
row.
ticket taker would let you do
Let
that
you
during
go.
batting practice.
They'd sign autographs. You could watch batting practice.
To me, that was more fun than the game bowl.
Now it rarely ever. Way more fun.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
Yeah, if I was going to a game, my dad knew that, okay, if it's a 1 o'clock game, we've got to leave Sandusky
That's
at
right.
10. I want to walk in at 11. I
Yeah.
want to watch both teams take BP.
That's right.
I might want to get Rod Cruz' autograph because the Twins are in.
And it didn't matter how good the player was.
No.
They'd sign autographs.
Yeah, and it made a difference. It built a generation of fans. By the
Yeah.
way, the fans that stood in those lines are the hardcore
That's
baseball
right.
fans today.
That's right, and that's part of the reason you've lost fans, right? What was amazing I want to say about 15 years ago, I was at Wrigley Field. The Phillies had played the Cubs, and after the game, I get on the L in Chicago, and Jimmy Rollins was on the train with us, and I walked up to him and I chatted, and nobody was talking to him. And I walked up to him and I was chatting with him for a couple minutes. He was very nice, very fun. I'm like, I can't believe you're on the train.
What was he doing on the train?
He just didn't want to ride the team bus. He wanted to be on the train like a normal person. And I was like, he's like, yeah, nobody else will ever do it. I was
That's
like,
interesting.
it was amazing.
But that's the kind of guy Jimmy is too.
I mean,
Very
so down to
affable.
earth. But it's so rare now. Like,
It
and
is.
I get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not killing players for that. Like, it's dangerous to be a player now.
Well, you know, with the
But-
screens up now, can you even fit an autograph
I don't even. Yeah.
ball? You can't.
Not a ball. You'd have like a piece of paper, maybe. you could put
Yeah,
through there.
I mean, there's now a physical barrier between
Yeah,
the fans.
it's unfortunate.
And I hate it.
Yeah.
I'll tell the story quickly because it shows the times that we're in now compared to where we were.
Yeah.
In the late, it had to be the early 80s because I think Hargrove was here in 81 as a player. I had an autograph book that had a little gold zipper around it, and I would take it to games and I would get players to sign it. Mm-hmm. And I had a pen sticking in the hole where the zipper came to, and I was holding it by the pen, and the book slipped down, and it fell down into the old photo wells, which were next to the dugouts at Old Municipal Stadium.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I can get down there. Mike Hargrove saw it drop, never said anything to me,
Yeah.
jumped over the fence, climbed down in the photo well, grabbed it. Here you go, kid.
Yeah, that's
And I've
awesome.
told him that story a couple of times. And he goes, yeah, obviously I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
that's something that I would have done.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'd like to think there are a lot of players that would still do something like that today.
There's some,
but-
sure.
Yeah, I remember when I was lucky enough to have seats for the field boxes, of all the players, and this includes visitors and home, Frankie Lindor was the most fan-friendly player I have ever seen
Yeah.
in my life. He would make sure that every young kid that was in that field suite got a ball before the game was over.
Yeah.
And he would get one on a foul ball or whatever when he was in the on-deck circle, and he'd say, who doesn't have one? And he would throw it to
Yeah,
the
that's
kid.
cool.
And sometimes he would even talk to them while he's in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And guys typically won't do that.
Yeah,
but
no. That's
yeah,
good.
the loyalty is definitely one-sided.
Yep.
It's fan to team.
Yep.
And I don't think much exists
No, very
anywhere
little.
outside
Very
of
little.
that. I don't see that it does.
Here we go.